Hi everybody, I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to go over this worksheet with you. Excuse me, I have a cough. I wanted to go over this worksheet with you and have you practice speaking what we're learning like we do in class. So, the first question on the worksheet is, what is the name of the gas that surrounds the planet? So obviously all of this information goes along with that video on the ozone that you guys watched. So the answer for that would be, the name of the gas that surrounds our planet is ozone. So what I'm going to do during this video is pause briefly so that you guys can repeat after me, because I think it's important to keep practicing the language and speaking, especially since you're stuck at home and you may not be forced to speak English as much. Okay, let's move on to the next one. What is a barrier? A barrier is an obstacle that prevents movement across an area. So let me have you guys say that. Read this sentence out here. A barrier is an obstacle that prevents movement across an area. Okay, now you say it. Okay, next one. Is ultraviolet radiation from the sun good or bad? Ultraviolet radiation is good because it warms our planet so we can live here, but it's bad because radiation is cancer causing, so we have to protect ourselves from it. So this one is two parts. There's good to it because it helps us to keep the planet warm enough for us to live on it. Without the ozone, we wouldn't have the warming effect, which allows us to have temperatures that living things can survive with. It would be too cold otherwise. And then the bad part obviously is the cancer causing part, which is why we wear sunscreen. It's not just for our skin though. It can affect your eyes. It can cause something called cataracts, which makes it, you actually become blind. You can't see. But in general, it's kind of both things, good and bad. So I'm going to repeat the answer and then have you repeat it after me. Ultraviolet radiation is good because it warms our planet. Now you speak. So we can live here. It's bad because radiation is cancer causing. So we have to protect ourselves from it. Okay, let's move on to the next one. We're on number 4 now. Why is the ozone layer important? The ozone acts like a shield to protect us from the harmful rays of the sun. So it actually helps to block those rays, and the ozone absorbs those rays so that not all of those rays hit the earth. So I'm going to repeat, and then you guys repeat after me. The ozone acts like a shield to protect us from the harmful rays of the sun. Okay, let's look at the next one. So my dog just got a hold of her little squeaky toy. She might be making a lot of noise. Okay, what does pollution do to the ozone layer? We talked about pollution before, right? These are the bad things, bad chemicals, gases, etc., that we release through the things that we do. And we're asking what it does to the ozone layer. So pollution destroys the ozone, which results in a hole, which allows more UV rays and radiation to reach the Earth. So if we're destroying that layer that protects us, we get less protection from the sun. So we like the sun because it helps warm, but if we destroy that layer, we're going to probably end up getting too much UV radiation, which can again cause problems with our eyes, cause cancer. It also destroys crops because too much sun, it's just too strong. So that ozone kind of acts to help filter it so that we don't get all of the effects of the sun. Okay, so I'm going to say the answer again and then you repeat after me. Pollution destroys the ozone, which results in a hole, which allows more UV rays and radiation to reach the Earth. Okay, let's move on to number 6. How many oxygen atoms are there in one ozone molecule? Now remember, when we studied atoms, atoms come together to make a molecule, and that's what ozone is. It's a molecule of 3 oxygens, 1, 2, 3 oxygen atoms, and they're bonded together, and they create what's called ozone. So I'm going to read the answer and you guys repeat after me. There are 3 oxygen atoms in one ozone molecule. Okay. Make sure you're repeating after me. Again, it's important to keep practicing your English, especially as we learn these new words. Okay. And number 7, explain why the video says the ozone acts as Earth's sunscreen. So, in general, the ozone acts like Earth's sunscreen because it absorbs harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun. So, it protects us, but we still need more protection. All right, so I'm gonna repeat what I just read, and then you guys repeat after me. Ozone acts like Earth's sunscreen because it absorbs harmful ultraviolet rays from the sun. Okay, good. It's almost like I can hear you. Okay, not really. Okay, number 8. Are chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, good or bad for the ozone layer? We typically will refer to this big, huge word here, chlorofluorocarbons, as CFCs, because that's such a big, long word. But I think you guys should try to say it. So I'm going to say it, and then you try to say it after me. Chlorofluorocarbons. Okay. And the answer is chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, are bad for the ozone layer because they react with the ozone layer and break it down and make it disappear. So you guys repeat after me. Chlorofluorocarbons are bad for the ozone layer because they react with the ozone layer and break it down and make it disappear. Okay, good. Let's move on to number 9. Is the ozone layer safe from pollution? The ozone layer isn't safe from pollution. The styrofoam we use releases CFCs, which break down the ozone layer. So there's a lot of other things that affect our ozone layer, but the styrofoam containers that we get when we go out and get tacos or pizza or whatever it is you're buying, and they give it to you in that styrofoam container or those styrofoam cups, every time you crack those or squish them together, it releases CFCs into the environment, out into the air, and those CFCs will break down the ozone layer. So it's best to avoid it, but some people don't know about it and they keep using them. So unfortunately, it keeps happening, and we keep destroying our atmosphere a little bit. So I'm going to say the answer, and you guys repeat after me. The ozone layer isn't safe from pollution. The styrofoam we use releases CFCs, which break down the ozone layer. Okay, number 10. What's happening to the ozone layer? Well, we kind of just talked about this in the previous question, but in general, the ozone layer has a hole and the layer is becoming more thin. So the layer itself is becoming more thin because of all the pollution breaking it down. And there's also a hole, which is obviously a problem, because if there's a hole, then there's no protective layer at all. So it's a very concerning thing for us. And then moving on to number 11. How do humans use CFCs? And what are the 3 examples in the video? So you may have different examples than me, but here's what I put down for examples. We use CFCs in aerosol cans. That's like hairspray or bug spray. And we use it in refrigerators to make them cool. And we use it in air conditioning units to make our homes and our workplace cool. So anytime there's any kind of cooling effect, there's CFCs involved. And the aerosol cans, I put a couple pictures here. This is the kind of aerosol can that it's bug sprays. It's some of the hairspray, not all of them. Some hairspray has a pump, but this is the one where you just hold the button down and it keeps spraying continuously, like in this one. And then that's just a picture of a refrigerator, but also air conditioning units contribute to the problem as well. Okay. And then this one here, we've got number 12. Chlorine from CFCs takes away oxygen atom from the ozone molecule. Explain what happens to the ozone molecule when one oxygen atom is taken away. Again, we're going back to our last semester when we talked about atoms here. But chlorine is in this right here where we referred to before, the chlorofluorocarbons. Chlorofluorocarbons has chlorine in it. And chlorine is very reactive. It reacts with oxygen. So it breaks down the bond that those oxygen molecules have here in our ozone layer. So the chlorine will break these bonds here, and we end up with basically this. You end up with oxygen and oxygen bonded together. That's the stuff that we breathe. That's what's in the air that we breathe. And then it will also result in one oxygen floating by itself. So this oxygen that's floating by itself can bond to other things, leaving the ozone thin. So here's our answer here for this one. It's kind of a long one. Ozone is made up of 3 oxygen molecules, and when the chlorine from CFCs reacts with the ozone, it breaks the bond, and the ozone loses a molecule. Then it becomes an oxygen molecule that says O2. That's the stuff that we breathe, the gas we breathe, and a free oxygen atom, just one single oxygen. Okay, so I'm going to read and you guys read after me. Ozone is made up of 3 oxygen molecules. And when the chlorine from CFCs reacts with the ozone, it breaks the bond and the ozone loses a molecule. Then it becomes an oxygen molecule and a free oxygen atom. Okay, let's move on. We're almost there on 13. What part of the Earth has the most damage to the ozone layer? So the area that has the most damage is over the Antarctic, which is also known as the North Pole. So the area that's damaged is that hole was getting bigger, but we realized what was happening, kind of figured it out, and started to get rid of more styrofoam. We started to be more careful with cooling things like air conditioners and refrigerators. And because I think what was happening is when a refrigerator was old, it would just get thrown away at the dump. And I think that the refrigerant, the cooling stuff, the stuff with the CFCs in it, would get released because the fridge would break apart. So now we're very careful about how we get rid of refrigerators and air conditioning units, and we're more cautious. And also we're using less of those spray cans. We have more things now in pump style instead of this pressurized one. So that helps too. And number 14, almost done, just 2 more. What does ban or banned mean? So if something is banned, it means that you can't do it or you can't have it. So to ban is to prohibit or to not allow. So if a product, for example, if they banned hot Cheetos, you wouldn't be able to get them. That would mean that the company would have to stop making them and you wouldn't be able to buy them anywhere. And then, what is ozone depletion? So we're focusing on this word here, depletion. And ozone depletion is the ozone becoming more thin and going away. So when something gets depleted, there's less of it. So let me go ahead and read this and have you guys read after me. Ozone depletion is the ozone becoming more thin and going away. Okay, good. I'm assuming you guys followed along and were reading along with me, because again, it's really important to keep up your English and keep practicing it. And I know that can be hard when you're at home and maybe you've got a lot of people around you and you're distracted, and but so it is important to keep practicing. And then here's I'm just going to show these to you in full so that you can see. Here's this one. If you need this sheet, you can freeze it on this screen. And then here was the second page. So make sure your answers look similar to this and study this so you understand it better. Send me any questions that you have. You can either email me or you can send it on Remind. Okay. Keep checking the website. Keep checking Remind. Make sure that you're staying on top of everything so that you guys continue learning and moving forward, and we can teach you everything that you need to know before we move on to the next section. Okay, I miss you guys. I hope everybody's doing well, and hopefully we can do a Google Hangout soon. That way we can all kind of chat with each other. Okay, bye guys.